This video is brought to you by Grandeur Warranty, your #1 online source for factory-backed extended warranties in the country. The compact crossover SUV segment is now the best-selling in the country, right, Kase?
Absolutely. This is a segment that's on fire.
Yeah.
And in today's video, we have two direct competitors. It's the Kia Sportage and the Volkswagen Tiguan.
Yeah, both of these are 2026 models, and Volkswagen just redesigned the Tiguan completely, and they're putting big hopes into this car, right?
Exactly. And it makes sense because this is a big seller. So if you're shopping around for a RAV4 alternative, these are two really good options, and that's why we're putting them head to head.
Exactly, and they compete directly. I mean, you could configure these two down to like $1 away from each other. Of course, we'll take them for a test drive, right? We'll show you all the specs, all the features, and we'll have to decide at the end of this video which one would we pick, right?
Yeah, because they've got very different pros and cons. As competitive as this space is, and as similar as a lot of these vehicles look and sometimes feel, these two in particular have a lot of differences. So which one do you want to start with?
Well, how about we start with the Kia, because it's been around a little bit longer in this,
Sure.
in this iteration, and then go to the brand new redesigned Tiguan. So this Kia Sportage, I mean, I think it's still a very attractive vehicle, wouldn't you say?
I agree. It's a design that doesn't look dated. It's got nice, sharp lines, very modern styling touches. These wheels, for one, 4-spoke, and I would argue, pretty sharp.
Yeah, and what you see here, actually, this trim level is one of their most premium, right? So that Tiguan is not the most premium you could buy, but the Sportage is actually pegging the meter a little bit on features.
Absolutely. So from the exterior, it's good looking. I especially like the headlights up here, which, I don't know, do you have the key on you? Can you pop on these headlights? Because it's cool.
Yes, hold on one sec.
Not just a regular everyday daytime running light. Instead, these ones light up amber, which in the daylight is going to be a little bit harder to see, and especially because the camera and the frame rate and everything isn't picking it up as well. But in person, these daytime running lights look really good.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little saber, right? I mean, you can kind of see a little bit of amber. Maybe let me shadow it, right? Let me put a shadow over it and see exactly how it looks.
Frame rate of the camera is not loving it, so it's kind of flashing to the camera's eye. But in person, they look really good. I also love the way that they've spec'd this car in particular, because it's kind of a cool shade of blue.
Yeah.
Whereas the Volkswagen, by comparison, is not a bad looking vehicle. They've updated the styling, softened up some of the lines on these cars. And I think that this is a decent looking vehicle, especially if you spec it right. This one in particular is silver with a black interior, so arguably not quite as interesting to look at.
A little bit more conservative German, I would say.
Very German, silver on black.
But Kase, I also, you know, this new Tiguan, they raised the hood line a little bit. You can kind of see a kind of a taller front end, and I'm not loving that.
No.
I mean, it looks a little bit bulky. Would you say, or
say
are you okay with it?
I'm okay with it because it gives it a little bit more of an SUV front end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not quite as car-like, which I don't mind.
And they also, what they did with the Tiguan is they stretched the wheelbase. The wheels are a little bit further to the corners, which always makes the vehicle look pretty attractive, but it's not huge, right? They didn't expand the vehicle lengthwise. They just pushed the wheels out to the corners a little bit.
Yeah, and actually this new generation of Tiguan is even a little bit lighter than the outgoing generation. So yeah, they haven't made it any bigger or bulkier, which is actually kind of nice, because these vehicles, part of the reason they're appealing is because they aren't massive.
Exactly, and they're relatively affordable. We're talking about like mid $30,000 range, maybe hitting towards the $40,000 range.
Yeah.
And both of these start at around 30.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Technically, MSRP on both of these starts just under $30,000. If you throw any options at them, they're going to crest over that $30,000 figure pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But what do you say? Should we pop the hood on the Kia?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about powertrain?
Because it is currently on, but
Yeah.
you're not hearing the engine. And that's because this is a hybrid.
Yeah, so that's one of the big things that differentiates these two, and one of the things that the Sportage has going for it is the option of a hybrid. Now recently, I was with Tommy on a Volkswagen event for the new Tiguan Turbo.
Yes.
And they argued that take rates for hybrids in this category, it's not necessarily maybe high enough for them to have put a hybrid in that.
That's interesting.
However, the fact that this Sportage is a hybrid means it gets significantly better fuel economy figures than the Volkswagen.
Yeah, let me get the camera here. But Kase, I'm not sure if I'm totally buying what VW was saying. Is because the best seller in the segment, the RAV4, is a hybrid.
That's true.
And many of the other competitors, like the Honda CR-V, also comes, with a very popular hybrid.
And I agree with you because, like we said, that's one of the things that sets these two apart. So in the Volkswagen, there's a 2-liter 4-cylinder, so very standard engine configuration in vehicles in this class. And you're looking at 201 horsepower. The all-wheel drive model has a little extra torque, so standard with front-wheel drive, you will get 207 pound-feet of torque. This one gets 221 pound-feet of torque, and then you can get the slightly more powerful turbo version if you want to spend the extra money. But with this model, as you see it right now, you're looking at 22 mpg city, 30 mpg highway, versus the Sportage that gets 35 mpg city and 36 highway. So it's better on the highway, but more than 10 mpg better in the city, and that's pretty significant.
And what the base engine here is, not the base, but part of this hybrid system is a 1.6-liter turbocharged engine. Of course, Kia calls it SmartStream G technology. And of course, there is electric motor and motors, right?
Yeah, and you can see all the high voltage cables. But Andre, doesn't this powertrain not only get better fuel economy, but have a little extra power?
Yeah, and you know what? We should take them for a drive.
Which we will do.
Yes.
But what's the power figure on this?
About 238. So it could be
Pretty
peppy.
nice. Yeah.
It could be peppy.
Yes, so that is a big bonus here for the Sportage. Now, granted, these two vehicles, the way that they're spec'd, there is actually a pretty big price difference between them, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But powertrain is certainly one of the things that's going to set these two cars apart in a big way.
And by the way, that hood is a little bit heavy.
A little bit,
yeah.
and it's just got a prop rod versus a Volkswagen, which does have some gas struts to hold up the hood,
Yeah.
which is kind of nice for anyone who's planning to do maybe some of their own maintenance.
All right, well, let's show the interior on the Kia, and then let's take it for a drive.
Let's do it.
No matter if you're buying the car brand new or it's slightly used, you should check out GrangerWarranty.com for factory-backed extended warranties, because if you're buying a car like this, you may be financing it for a longer period of time, maybe 5, 6, 7 years. And if you do, you want to make sure you cover it, and GrangerWarranty.com offers that. Factory technicians using OEM quality parts at dealerships and certified facilities across the country. You can fix your vehicles and also save some money, about $1,000 on average. So check them out. Before we take the Kia for a drive, let's take a look at the interior and also check out the back seat and a little bit of storage space. By the way, I misspoke. Got the wrong spec. 232 horsepower, Case.
Yeah, so it's more than the Tiguan.
Yeah, quite a bit. Yeah. So powering up, there's a start button here in the center console, and my transmission control is a knob. I spin it to the right for drive, to the left for reverse, and I push this button for park.
Yeah, but I love the pretty convenient dedicated switches placed right in the center console, front and center, for your heated and ventilated seats and heated steering wheel. Those are all really nice features to have handy.
Yeah, very physical. Here we have an interesting panel, because this panel right now is in HVAC mode, and it's kind of, oh, I have to do this.
Yeah, but you can also
Switch it into radio.
Yeah, double it to be shortcuts for your infotainment. So,
it's a little bit not ideal, because like I would expect to be able to touch this. I couldn't, but I can touch here and here. So it's a little bit, when you're driving and bouncing around, I would prefer this to be more physical.
Yeah, and
buttons.
as you can see with some of the glare, at times it's a little difficult to read because of the finish. That's
Yeah.
all.
So that's not ideal. But you know what is ideal? I think the seat, the steering wheel position, this does have a heads-up display in this particular trim, which is SX Prestige. I have paddle shifters, I have drive modes, terrain mode here on the steering wheel, and a few controls as well here. And I have very kind of cool Kia little cup holders that pop out here. So I kind of like that.
Yeah, what I love is the fact that this interior and the way that it's spec'd currently is two-tone, so there's a little bit more contrast, which brightens it up, makes it look a little better. And then the ultimate test of the back seat is seeing how Andre fits behind himself, because you're pretty tall, you're about 6'3".
Yeah, almost there. But look, I'm sitting behind myself, and this is the amazing part about the modern compact crossovers. Like 5 or 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't be able to sit like this behind myself, but they've been kind of stretching them a little bit further and further, and this is quite nice.
Yeah, and it looks like you can actually recline your seat as well, which is pretty cool. So
Oh,
you lean back
look at
just
this.
a little bit.
Ooh.
And like you were saying, it's a good mix of materials on the
Yeah.
seats. I love this little bit of fabric here at the top. That feels really good. We've got vents for the rear seat passengers. which
Little
is good.
hooks, USB-C ports here, but no like heated rear seats or controls.
Yeah.
Oh, the control for the heated seat is in the door,
Oh.
actually.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So,
So
does
good
have
value.
heated rear seats, which
You
is a
know-
nice feature to have.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this Kia. And now the rear hatch area pops open, and actually quite a decent amount of space right here.
Yeah, the other thing that we're happy to see is it does have a compact spare tire.
Yes, because this is an all-wheel drive crossover. I really would hope they would offer something like this.
Yeah,
and
so
they do.
we're happy to see that it in fact does. There's a little bit of power here in the trunk, a little 12 volt.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's pretty simple. You do have a little lever you can use to fold down the seats to make it that much easier to fold things near flat and get some bigger items into the trunk. So I'd say it's a pretty well configured interior. Now let's check out the inside of the Tiguan. I actually want to give them a little bit of credit, because in the past we've critiqued Volkswagen interiors for being a little too monotone, and this particular interior is not a great example of it. But to their credit, on certain trims, certain configurations, you can get some more fun kind of two-tone color options. This interior is a little bit more gray, but
Yeah.
there's still some color in the screens, some ambient lighting at night, a few things that make it a little bit nicer, and it's kind of hard to tell, especially compared to the Kia. But there's a bit of gray in here in the door card to contrast with some of the black, so it's not all completely monotone. And a little texture on the dash as well, so I really don't mind the materials and the interior too much.
Yeah, there's also pretty nice stitching, right? I mean, it looks pretty nice in here.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
not bad, and it's definitely fairly modern. There's a 10.25-inch screen in front of me here, and then the base screen in the center is 12.9 inches, so already a pretty big screen, or on some nicer trim cars, a 15-inch screen, which is even bigger. However, I will say on this big screen, all of your climate is integrated into the screen, plus these little sliders right here, which the sliders aren't terrible to use, but it's not my favorite that the controls are integrated in the screen. It's a slightly more dedicated switch panel that's there on the Kia, and I sort of prefer that, but the operating system for this screen is not bad. It's not too difficult to use, so overall, it's not a bad piece of technology. Center console is very clean, so there's very few switches that are in here. You have your start-stop switch, your parking brake, and then a volume control that also doubles as your control for your different driving modes, and that looks really sharp. I love the appearance of it. It's got the actual digital, pretty high-resolution screen built into the center of the knob, and I think that's actually pretty nice.
Yeah, very high contrast. Almost looks like a fancy digital watch, like really nice.
Yeah, it looks like a piece of smart tech, so it's pretty cool.
And the gauges are pretty cool too. I mean, the digital gauges, but they look nice.
And then these days, We do have actual physical controls here on the steering wheel, which I appreciate because in the past, a lot of Volkswagens have used touch-sensitive controls, and as you're moving your hands across the steering wheel, as we've said many times in the past, you can accidentally brush against those buttons and trigger something that you're not intending to. These switches are much better.
And what about the transmission selector, dude?
This one is one where you rotate it forward, rotate it back, and then press for park. You know, you get used to it.
It's okay.
It's not the end of the world.
This is not the first time somebody used this type of selector, but I would prefer like a column shift, like a traditional one maybe.
I agree. Yeah, something maybe a little more traditional just might be a bit easier. But checking out the back seat, I'm not quite as tall as Andre, but I would still say that it's reasonably spacious, especially as far as headroom is concerned. That's really not bad at all. And I have the seat moved a little further back than usual at the moment, but still plenty of space. So Andre would also fit just fine in this back seat. And a lot like the Sportage, we do have vents in the rear, USB-Cs, but no separate climate controls or anything like that. And no heated seat switches, no heated seats.
Well, this is also
rear.
not the fanciest of Tiguans, right?
Exactly. So you're going to see some of those differences because this is quite a bit less expensive than the Sportage.
Yep.
And finally, take a look at the trunk. Still a power lift gate, which is not bad. Still a decent sized trunk and very similar to the Sportage. You've got levers to fold down the seats. That makes things a little bit easier. And also very comparable, another compact spare.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, they are very similar. Like you said, you can pretty much spec these cars punch for punch, make them direct competitors.
Even on price.
Even on price, but the way that these two are set up, this one's a little less expensive, so it makes sense that it doesn't have quite all the features.
Got it. But it seems like they really just benchmarked each other, right?
Yeah,
as far as space, roominess, and kind of comfort.
They are very comparable.
All right, putting the Sportage into drive, let's see how it does. And instead of eco mode, which I'm in now, I'm gonna go to sport.
Oh,
The
spicy.
most aggressive.
Yeah, the spiciest of the modes.
Yeah. Changes the gauges a little bit. Also, of course, changes a little bit more of the behavior and the performance of the vehicle.
And this Sportage uses a 6-speed transmission.
Old school.
Yeah, a little old school, because the Volkswagen has an 8-speed,
Yeah.
which is kind of nice.
I think, the Kia Sportage and some of the vehicles in their lineup, Kia and Hyundai, I think a lot of people appreciate, having a 6-speed still.
Yeah.
Because, it kind of with it kind of comes this feeling that, it was tried and true and it was there before.
Yeah, and as far as acceleration goes, like getting heavy into the throttle like you just did.
Let me try again. Yes. Well, I wouldn't say this is a performance crossover.
No,
No.
It's plenty enough power to get around, to merge in with traffic. If you're shopping around for a vehicle in this segment that is actually kind of fast, surprisingly fast, a RAV4 Prime might be your best bet because that car is pretty quick.
Yeah, or actually any plug-in hybrid, right? Kia also offers one, but that's a lot more pricey as well.
Yeah, so that's gonna afford you a little more power, but if you're primarily after efficiency and you just need something that can merge in with traffic with no problem at all, this is 100% that. Like with the Kia, I'll go ahead and switch us into sport mode so that we're comparing apples to apples. And this car, not being a hybrid, drives a little bit more old school, a little more traditional. So if that's something that appeals to you, then this car is just a little bit more of that traditional.
Yeah, and the engine is
feel.
always on, so there is no transition between electricity and engine, right?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and give it a boosted throttle. It definitely doesn't accelerate as quickly as the Kia does. Kind of gradually builds up, gets on boost. Again, this is a car that would have no problem merging in with traffic but if you lined it up next to the Sportage would be quicker. Of course, you can also get yourself into a Tiguan Turbo, which is quicker.
268 horsepower, right?
Yeah, and it's
like that.
one of the more powerful crossovers in the segment. So if that's something that you're interested in, it's an option. But part of the reason that I like this Tiguan is it kind of keeps the price down.
Exactly. And also, this engine's been around. I mean, this is like the 5th iteration of the EA 888,
yeah.
which has been around, I mean, I don't know, when I was in high school, I think that engine was around. I mean, it's been a long time.
Yeah, maybe not actually that long,
Okay.
but it has been around for quite a while.
What do you say?
Nothing.
Oh, okay,
I'm
okay.
not saying anything, man.
Okay.
But getting out onto the road, similar to the Kia, the ride quality on this car is plenty nice. Again, it's not going to have the steering of a 911, but it's quiet, it's comfortable. I would be perfectly happy daily driving this car. So in that way, these two are very, very similar. The powertrains feel different, and maybe in the margins, you know, suspension and the road feel and steering feel is a little different. But for the most part, they're very competitive cars, and at a glance, on a quick drive like what we're doing, they feel pretty similar.
All right, dude, so we've spent some time with these two. We gotta pick a favorite. Do you want to start, or should I?
Well, why don't you go ahead and tell me what you think after hanging out with these cars for the day?
So I'm choosing Kia, and let's talk about price first. The way they sit here, this Kia SX Prestige Hybrid, all-wheel drive, of course. This is right over 41,000. This is 35, right?
Yeah.
Ish?
So $6,000 between them in MSRP.
That's a big chunk of change.
It is a big chunk of change.
Yes.
But even with that in mind, like you said, you can spec these cars in such a way that the prices are equivalent.
Yeah.
But even as it stands, these two cars, one versus the other, and price considered, I would also go for the Kia because over the course of several years, the additional fuel economy savings that you're going to get from driving that hybrid system is going to balance out the cost a little bit. And I like the interior on the Kia. I think the exterior is good looking. It's a little bit quicker. So that would be the one I would go for as well.
Yeah, I was just on the configurator before we started filming, and I was configuring a Kia Sportage Hybrid at around 34, 35 grand. And you know me, like I don't like to be super flashy, so I would be okay with picking more of a base model, you know, a little bit closer to what the base is. But like you said, efficiency is nice. Also, just the style of it, right? The style, I appreciate the Kia a little bit more than the new Tiguan, but also the Tiguan, you know, it's not a bad redesign.
No, and I like the Tiguan Turbo. I think that that's a pretty fun vehicle. It feels like the GTI, if you want to call it that, of crossovers. Mm-hmm. So it has a lot going for it on that end of the spectrum, and that's obviously going to be pricier. But as these two cars sit between them, I'm with you. I like the Sportage better.
Yeah, well, let us know what you think in the comments below. If you had about $35,000 or $36,000, if these two were, you know, comparatively equipped, which one would you pick? Let us know.